Zyler James Daniel. I remember his smile. He was a really happy baby all the time. So he smiled and it kind of was like a glow from his eyes.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a podcast where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter Red, and on this episode, Chrissy is telling the story of her son, Zyler, who died in his sleep at 6 months old. It was ruled as a sudden, unexpected infant death, or SUID. As a word of caution to our listeners, this story contains emotional triggers of stillbirth and infant loss. Please keep yourself emotionally and mentally healthy and seek help if needed. Please respect our moms and dads who are brave and gracious to share their children with us. So, Chrissy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do on a day-to-day basis right now, and then also what you were doing when Zyler was born?
Sure. Right now, I'm busy in school trying to become a certified nurse midwife. So I'm finishing up my clinicals for that, getting the birth experiences and learning a lot there. And then I have a wonderful husband and two kiddos that I spend time with whenever I can. So that fills up most of my time. And when I had Zyler, I was working at an insurance company with my mom in Denver, and we lived in a small little condo. So now I live in Kansas, and we just built a house. So we live in a house in Kansas.
That's wonderful. You have two kids, you're married, and so what do you like to do in your spare time, just so that people get to know who you are?
I like to spend time with my two kiddos or my husband. I also like doing photography and taking pictures of anything at different angles and messing with the color and everything like that. And I also enjoy drinking coffee. Like I'm always drinking coffee.
Oh, that is funny. Well, that probably helps you as a student, right? Of right now, it's you have to be alert and awake.
Yeah, we sleep at kind of weird times as midwives.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. So you were living in Kansas. Well, you were living in Denver when Zyler was born. So can you give us a little bit of context? How long ago did this happen?
Zyler was born April 2nd, just after the time for April Fool's Day. So he was actually born April 2nd, 2007. So it was about 12 years ago. He'd be about 12 or 12 and a half now.
Wow. I appreciate you coming on because we don't, we want to hear from people that have lost, and it's been a little bit of time. So I appreciate you. You go ahead?
Thank you.
So how did your pregnancy go?
It went perfectly fine and normal. It was awesome. It was an unexpected surprise, and I was really excited. I had a lot of nausea and vomiting, and I know a lot of women do during most of my pregnancy. And then I gained a lot of weight, but other than that, everything was pretty perfect.
Pretty perfect. Okay. And so you were living with your mom at the time. And who the father, was he in the picture?
I was living with him at the time.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
In Denver, outside of Denver.
Outside of Denver. Okay.
Yep.
And were you guys both excited about it? You said it was a surprise.
It was a surprise. We weren't trying to have a baby, but yeah, we both embraced it and we're really excited about it. And we're looking forward to having him.
Wonderful.
We found out it was a boy. We couldn't wait to be surprised. So we knew it was a boy.
That's awesome. Did you guys have names and everything picked out? You were pretty pumped about that already?
Oh yeah, I had a big list of names and I went on the internet and searched, and then I read like all the name books and everything. And I wanted something unique, but something that people could say and pronounce and spell.
Right. Yeah.
So my friend actually made it up, and we were talking about names, and he was talking about initials and stuff. And so he came up and he wanted to name him with a Z name so that his initials would be Zoo, Z-O-O. And I was like, no, I don't want to name my child with the initials of Zoo. So he's funny, but he actually made up the name Zyler, and then I just loved it.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun, and like you said, it's like Tyler, but with a Z, and that was easy for me to figure that out. So
yeah, unique, but.
And how did Zyler look when you guys went for your checkups and such? Like how was he looking?
Perfect.
Looked really
big
good.
And yep, everything was perfect. No problems or complications or anything. And the doctor that I had then said that he's going to be a big boy. So he was like in the big percentile on all the ultrasounds and everything like that. But everything was wonderful.
Everything was wonderful. And this was your first pregnancy.
Yep.
And so this was kind of like on par for course. You're feeling good and everything was looking good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, do you want to jump into the delivery? Tell us about when you delivered Zyler.
Okay. Well, like I said, I was gaining a lot of weight and he was a big boy. So they thought that it would be best to induce me so that I could have him. And the first time didn't really work. I didn't really go into labor and I wasn't showing good signs of my body changing to go into labor. So they actually sent us home for 2 days to rest and hang out and see if my body would do it naturally. So I was pretty bummed because I thought I would have him.
Can I ask you what week you were and how far along you were?
39 weeks.
39 weeks. Okay.
Yeah. And midwives would do it different now, but
yeah,
lots of times changed. But so we went home for 2 days and hung out and nothing happened. And so we went in for another induction and was in labor for 2 days. And they were afraid that they were going to have to take him via C-section. And this wonderful, wonderful nurse, I don't even know her name. I wish that I could meet her or see her, came in and was like kind of an older nurse. And she's like, let me try something. And at this point, we had pretty much been in labor and induced for 4 or 5 days now. Between the 2 times. And so she's like, let me try something. And I'm like, you can tell me to stand on my head and hold my breath if you want me to. I'll do whatever you say at this point. I just want to meet my baby. So she came in and she flipped me and turned me and changed my position and everything. And they got the C-section team all ready. And the doctor came in to get me for the C-section and my body had changed enough. And then shortly after I had him.
Really?
Yeah.
Just like that.
It was awesome. So he was in a different position, I think. And then the nurse that came just knew how to rotate my body to where the baby could turn and fit through the pelvis. And so he was a big boy, 8 pounds, 13 ounces.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. But I'm very, very thankful for that nurse because I didn't end up having a C-section. So I've had all vaginal births. So she really made a huge impact on my life.
Yeah, seriously. Because we had a C-section with our first daughter, and that was a rough recovery. I'm just going to say. So yes, if you can imagine, that's great. So so it was pretty quick once she did her turning magic. He was ready to go.
He was ready to go, and he met us screaming and looked perfect, big chunky boy. Yep.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you guys named him and everything. How was the hospital stay after that? How were you recovering?
It was awesome. As a first-time mom, I feel like you kind of don't really know what to expect all the time and know if stuff's normal or going okay. And so without any medical training, or I wasn't in the healthcare field at the time, I really relied on the nurses and their teaching, and they helped us with breastfeeding and answered all my questions and took really good care of him. And I felt really good.
Wonderful. Great. That's amazing. And then you guys stayed in the hospital for a couple of days and then headed home?
Yep. Stayed in the hospital just for a couple of days to make sure. They actually say that a lot of babies breathe fast because of the level that that Denver's at. And so
really? Huh.
Yeah. I can't think of the word. What's the word? The altitude?
Yeah.
So because of the high altitude in Denver, a lot of babies breathe too fast when they are born.
That is interesting.
And so they watch them pretty closely, and then everything's good, then they send you home. Yep.
That sounds great. And then you guys were home and hanging out.
We were home. Yep. And we had people visit us at our condo, and you're tired when you first have your baby, but you are excited with all those endorphins and just thrilled and can't believe that you actually had the baby, and just try to do the best you can as a new mom and as new parents. So
he was pretty active. Was he
very active.
What you expect him to be when you have an infant?
Yeah, he was just wonderful. He brought a lot of joy to all of us. And yeah, it was great. He was learning how to crawl. He was meeting all of his milestones. We had a pediatrician, so we visited him often just for the regular checkups and all the visits that they have as newborns, and then each month or every couple months. And then he was doing perfect. He was always in the 75 to 95 percentile for height and weight, and growing perfect. Big, beautiful boy.
And then what happened?
So one night we had a regular routine with him, and one night he just didn't want to go to sleep. And so I rocked him and rocked him and rocked him and got to hold him for a long time. I had a lot of time. We had a rocking chair in his room and by his crib and stuff. And so I rocked him and he just was kind of fussing and not going to sleep. He just didn't want to go to sleep. So I stayed up with him, and then he went to sleep, and I went to bed after that. And then his dad got up with him a couple hours later in the middle of the night and fed him and took care of him and made sure everything was fine. And then didn't think I was gonna cry. And then I went to check on him before I would get ready for work. That was the routine we've done for 6 months, over 6 months now. He was 6.5 months old, and we had just seen the pediatrician 2 weeks before for a 6-month checkup, and everything was great. And I found him, and he just wasn't breathing and he wasn't moving. So I had done some EMT training. I was really interested in becoming an EMT or maybe a paramedic at the time. And so I knew right away that something wasn't right. And so I guess I let out this really horrific, really, really loud, piercing scream. And that woke up Zyler's dad in the next room. And then I went and called 911, and I was hysterical. And I told them, I need someone to come to my house because my baby's not breathing. And the dispatcher actually couldn't understand me. And she said, ma'am, I need you to calm down. And so just instinctually, not even really thinking through the process and everything, I hung up on her because I was like, I don't know how you're going to tell me to calm down. I don't know how to calm down at this point. So they called me right back, and I took it slow, and I took some breaths, and I said, please come. And they tried to tell me to go through the process of what was going on and what was wrong. And I said, I need somebody to come, please. My baby's dead. So then they were going to lead me through the process of doing CPR. And I said, I already know that he's dead, and CPR won't help. So just please come. So please come. So we were in a condo, and I guess it was real early in the morning when I had got up to go check on him, and then I would go take a shower and then take care of him before we would start our day and stuff. So our neighbor, I guess, heard me screaming. So he woke up and came to check if everything was okay. And the police came, I told them what had happened, and they were really wonderful. And I think I was so overwhelmed that I couldn't really even like walk or function. And so it was like I was in this huge, huge nightmare. And I was hoping I would wake up, but the police officers I had volunteered with, so I knew some of the police officers in the area from doing volunteer work, and they were wonderful. And so the detective, I actually had already met the detective that came, and he gave me a hug and stuff. And so I grabbed some clothes and called my mom, who was living in Denver, and I said, I need you to meet me at the police department. And she kind of asked why, and I said, I just need you to meet me at the police department. So they transported us, the mom and the dad of Zyler, they transported us in the car to the police department. And I was in no shape to drive or anything like that. So that was safe for everybody. And on the way, we called Zyler's dad's parents, and they came from Kansas, and we said, we need you to meet us at the police department. And so then they put us in a room to hang out, and a victim's advocate came, and she was wonderful. She was totally awesome. And I knew my parents arrived at the police department when I heard this really loud, horrible scream and crying way out in the other rooms in the lobby, because somebody had told my mom and my stepdad what happened. Zyler went to sleep and he never woke up. So it was very, very unexpected and sudden and not planned or anticipated. And every parent worries about their baby having problems breathing or going to sleep and not waking up. But we just that day it became a reality. So I heard my parents crying and screaming in the lobby, and that's how I knew that they had gotten there. So we all met in the room and talked, and we had the victim's advocate there and cried. And then they interviewed us and investigated it as kind of like a crime scene, which that's what he deserves, is every sudden unexpected death, I believe, should be investigated and looked into. And so they asked us a lot of questions about him and how the day was and the night was and everything like that. And then the victim's advocate really was really strong and helpful. And the police officers were kept questioning us, and we were open and honest and said everything we knew, and we wanted to find out why he passed away too.
Yeah.
And so the victim's advocate, I remember her saying, well, okay, you guys are done now, right? You don't have any suspicion of them. You guys are done, right? And they said, yeah. And so then we went on and just called some more family, and it's kind of a blur. I don't really remember the rest of how it all kind of worked out and got filled in, but then we started making like burial and funeral service arrangements and stuff like that, and just kind of trying to survive with this overwhelming grief that we never really expected or planned for or anticipated. Yeah, it made us all different people. And I've read before that they say, like, sometimes in your life there's these huge events, and there's a time in your life like before that, and then there's your life after that event. And that was definitely the day, October 15th of 2007. October 15th is actually National Infant, Child, and Pregnancy Loss Awareness Day.
Yeah.
So that one day out of the whole year is actually the day my baby became an angel. So
I'm so sorry.
That's kind of a point in my life. Like, there was my life before that, and then my life since then and after that. So kind of that's the divider.
Yeah.
Yep.
Chrissy, tell me, when the police arrived and the ambulance or the EMTs arrived, did they try to revive him?
So I didn't have that much medical training then, and I didn't know, and I was scared, and it was kind of early in the morning and everything was going on. But yeah, I knew. I saw some firefighters and EMTs go in with their big life pack on, and I said that he was in his bedroom and told them, go down the hall and go to the right. That's where his bedroom is. And it didn't take them long to pack their stuff up, and they quietly came back out and passed us. So I knew that there was nothing they could have done, but it was probably impactful for them too, to be called to that scene and have to witness somebody that's passed on. So they didn't say anything or do anything. They were very respectful, but when I saw them come with their life pack and go in there and then come back out,
So sorry.
thanks. It's been a while. It's been 12 years, and
well, it doesn't leave you.
it doesn't leave you, and it comes and goes. I kind of feel like it's a roller coaster that you're on, and sometimes there's like these twirls and whirls, and sometimes you kind of go backwards a little bit, and then you go forward, and then you kind of are scared, and then you kind of have a part where it's kind of steady and smooth, and then kind of have ups and downs and all around. And the only thing is that roller coaster you can get off. So that's the only real difference that I've noticed between a roller coaster and the life of loss and grief of a child or a baby.
Yeah. I am so sorry.
Thank you. He was perfect and healthy and had 2 little teeth on the bottom and a beautiful smile. And it happened Monday morning that we found him. And so the Sunday, right before that, I was really lucky. We had a family barbecue, and we had a bunch of family and friends over, and he was 6 months old, and he was dressed in this cute little outfit that my aunt and uncle had given me for him. And he had this brownish, blondish hair and big brown eyes and 2 little teeth, was really happy. And I'm really fortunate. I took lots and lots of pictures of him at that family barbecue. And I'm really lucky to have 6 months with him, because I have a lot of pictures that I really cherish of him, that he's smiling and happy and healthy and well. And so I treasure those a lot.
Yeah,
still.
what a blessing to have that event just right, the barbecue right before. That is, what a blessing.
I was really thankful. A lot of people saw him and held him and talked to him, and he jumped in his bouncer and played in his jumper toy and everything. And so everybody got to hold him and talk to him and everything like that. So that was really nice. I'm really thankful that we had that time.
Now, when you were at the police station, and you had sent all your family were there, and you were talking with the victim's advocate, so they were investigating it, as just to see what happened.
Yep.
Did they come up with anything? Did you guys have an autopsy done? What was the was there any sort of resolution in that investigation?
So they investigated us. And I think they try to catch you if you change your story, or if you miss out parts, or if you things. And so we told the story over and over and over, and that was hard and kind of traumatic, because there's multiple people that you have to talk to and tell that to. And the detectives work in pairs or in a group, and then there's all of these different people that seem to come and go. And so then you tell everyone. So then you have the coroner, and then you have all these other investigators, and tell them what happened. And yeah, so we had an autopsy done on him, and they didn't come back with any definitive results. And so we call it SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome. And then now they actually call it USIDS, which is unexpected or unintentional sudden infant death, unexpected of a toddler, baby, anybody under age 1. So
Yeah.
I was really lucky with him, and it depends on state to state and how everything kind of works out with the situation. But we did donate 2 of his heart valves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was an organ and tissue donation that we donated 2 of his heart valves to, and they said that they would give them to the ones in highest need, and they could be babies, children, or a pregnant woman that needed them. So 2 of his heart valves really could have made a difference.
Yeah.
2 people's lives or their families as well. So a couple years later, we got a thank you letter and note from the foundation in Colorado, and said that they were both used and put to good use. So really, he's still living on and continuing on and helping other people live still. So
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And when they had done the autopsy, did they find any information about how long he had passed away? Because you said that he was pretty, he didn't want to go to sleep that night. And you guys kind of probably put him down a little bit later than you usually do.
Mm-hmm.
So did they have any, about a time when he passed away?
Based on the time and the window and all the events, they know it was after midnight of the 14th. So it was officially into October 15th. And they have a narrow window of a couple of hours that they think that it could have happened. But really, they probably have some of that stuff on the documents and everything, but I haven't looked at it in a very long time. And so there's a narrow window that he and passed on and went to heaven. And so it was sometime early October 15th in the morning.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine, Chrissy. You guys started making funeral arrangements for him.
Yep.
How did that go? I think it's the worst thing ever.
It is
the worst thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah. And you wish you could trade places with him or anything like that, but it was really nice. I do remember that the funeral home that helped us took good care of us and everything, helped us design the little pamphlet that was going to be sent out and what songs were going to be played at his funeral and everything, what was going to be said, and how we wanted everything listed on the pamphlet. But one of the girls that was helping was pregnant, and so that was kind of hard for me. She was very pregnant at the time, but it's not her fault. She did great helping us out, and it went really smoothly. And I had family help us kind of pick stuff, and we just kind of went by the direction of the funeral home and went on price and everything, because funeral expenses can be really, really costly, and especially if you're not planning on them and you're just trying to still pay off the birth. So
yeah,
we got a lot of help, and the funeral home was really wonderful with price and everything. They were really reasonable, and we had a wonderful, wonderful blessing that I think about on a regular basis. One of our friends came and had heard about my son dying, and not too long before that, her dad had passed on, and as a gift in his name and his memory, she gave us a very large sum of money to pay off the funeral costs. She gave us a large chunk of money to pay off all the bills to bury him and everything. So that was a big relief and took a lot of stress off of us from the things that we had to think about and cost and working. So that was the most generous gift. I still really don't know how to thank her, but I remember her handing us in my mom's kitchen a check in honor of her dad that would cover the charge for the funeral service. So that was one of the most generous gifts I've ever gotten. So yeah, that was awesome. That was really helpful. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, wow, what a big stress relief.
Yeah, seriously.
It was a really beautiful gift. And I still don't know how to thank her, but she'd probably like me to pass on the gesture and keep it going. And so I might try to do that. But one of these days I might come up with a little something to give her or show her somehow my appreciation. But I think about it constantly. That was a really large and very generous gift. So
yeah, how do you say thank you for those kind of things when you're like, this made so much impact in my life? Yeah, we've been on the receiving end of a lot of people's generosity too, and it's like, yeah, how do you thank them?
It's beautiful. Yes, you really can't. But yeah, I still think about it often. And she said that it was in her dad's name, and that's the kind of person he was, and that he would want her to do that and be remembered in that way. And so it was such a big relief for us. That's very, very generous. And she could have spent that money on a lot of things, but it really helped take stress off of us when that cost was paid for.
Yeah. Do you remember anything at the funeral or anything at the memorial or that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I was really surprised at how many people came up to show support, and that I still remember that, how many people came, even if they had never really met the baby or if they were friends of my parents or Zyler's family, extended family, all came and traveled and came to support us, and that was really awesome. So I remember lots of people visiting, and I remember his pediatrician came to the service, which I thought was a cool gesture.
Yeah.
Took time out of his day and came, and he was a big support person for us. And then the other thing at his service that I remember, the funeral service and funeral home did a really great job, and they had asked us along the way, if we wanted to be involved in different things, and we pick out the outfit that he's going to be in, but they asked us if we wanted to change his clothes and put him into that outfit, and I declined just for my personal reasons and sanity. So they did that for me and helped us through that process. But then they had a viewing and everything, and they put him in a crib, like a little crib cradle thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really nice and looked a lot better than just a casket or a scary funeral home place that's all cold and dreary and dreadful. And so it was done really nice, and he looked comfortable and calm, and that's the way I remember him, is in no pain. And so they did the viewing and the service and had him in a little baby cart carriage thing. So that was really nice, instead of having to have him in an actual casket.
Yeah.
Little casket. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be nice. I'm like, yep, my son was in a casket, and it's not very reassuring at all.
No. So it was really nice. That little thing made a big difference to me, because that vision you don't get rid of in your head. So I remember that for lots and lots of years, even. So little stuff like that does help us, and it counts and it matters. So
that's wonderful. Is there anything you want to tell us about Zyler that you want to remember about him?
He just was a good baby. He would always lay, he was learning to crawl, and so he's always laying a certain way and posing, and had a great personality, really happy, and just a wonderful baby, and really changed all of our lives for the better. And we're really lucky to have had him in our life. And I can't imagine not having him. So made a big impact on a lot of us. And it was a beautiful, smart boy. So that's how I remember him. I have lots of pictures of him smiling, and that's how we like to remember him.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very powerful.
Thank you.
I want to thank Chrissy so much for sharing this beautiful story of her son Zyler and for showing her heart. This was so beautiful. Please head over to the website, stillapartofus.com, where you can find the show notes, including a full transcript of this interview and any resources that were mentioned, where you can sign up for our short and helpful email newsletter, where you can learn how you can become a patron and support the work it takes to produce this show for just a few dollars a month, and lastly, where you can find out how to get in touch with us if you want to share your child's story on the show. The show was produced and edited by Winter and Lee Red. Thanks to Josh Woodward for letting us use his song, Flickering Flame. You can find him at joshwoodward.com. Lastly, subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us.
My definition of an intellectual is someone who could listen to the William Tell Overture without thinking of the Lone Ranger. Billy Conley.